There's a kind of memory that doesn't live in the mind at all. It lives somewhere lower down, in the muscle and the bone, in the specific shape a body has learned to make after repeating something 10,000 times. I didn't understand that distinction until the night my husband forgot my name, and his hand still knew exactly where to find me. I'm 63 years old. Donald and I have been married 41 years, most of them spent on this same wheat farm in the middle of Kansas, falling asleep most nights in the same configuration, his hand resting against my hip. Some habit neither of us ever discussed, just something our bodies worked out decades ago and never bothered to change. The Alzheimers took his words for my name about 8 months back. I'd braced myself for that loss for years, watched it coming the way you watch weather building on the horizon out here. Plenty of warning, none of it making the actual arrival any easier. We don't share a bed the same way anymore. A hospital bed came into our room last year. Safety reasons. A whole conversation I'll get into later. But most nights, somewhere in his sleep, his hand still reaches out across the gap between the two beds, searching for a shape that isn't there in the exact spot it used to be. Some part of him is still looking for me every single night, even though the part of him that could tell you my name is gone. The hospital bed arrived on a Tuesday in March, delivered by 2 men from the medical supply company in Salina, who set it up with the brisk efficiency of people who do this constantly. No idea what they were dismantling for us in the process. It hadn't been a sudden decision. Donald's balance had gotten worse through the winter, 2 falls in 3 months. The second one bad enough that his doctor sat us both down and said the word safety more times than I wanted to hear it. A hospital bed with rails, positioned where he could be monitored more easily. Where I could be monitored too, honestly. Since getting him up in the middle of the night from our old bed had started putting my own back at real risk. I understood the logic. I'd nursed enough of my own students' families through hard seasons over 30 years of teaching to know when practical necessity outweighs sentiment. But understanding something logically and feeling ready to lose the last physical closeness you have left with your husband turned out to be 2 very different things. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom that Tuesday evening, watching the delivery men wheel out our old bed frame. The one we'd bought secondhand in 1985, the one that had held 41 years of ordinary nights, and felt something break loose in me that I hadn't expected the loss of a piece of furniture to trigger. I fought the idea of the second bed harder than I let on to Karen, our daughter, or to Donald's doctor, or really to anyone besides myself quietly, at 2 in the morning more than once that winter. Some stubborn part of me kept insisting there had to be another way. A wider bed, rails on just my side. Something, anything that let me keep sleeping close enough to reach him, the way I had every night for 41 years. I brought it up with the doctor twice, looking for a loophole. He was gentle about it both times, but firm. The risk wasn't just to Donald anymore. It was to both of us. I remember lying awake the last night before the delivery, Donald already asleep beside me, his hand in its usual place against my hip, and thinking, trying to memorize it honestly, the exact weight and warmth of it, like I was saying goodbye to something I didn't yet fully understand. I'd get to keep in a different form. I didn't cry in front of him. I've learned over these last few years to save that for later, for the barn, for the shower, for anywhere he can't see it happening, and wonder, in whatever confused way he still wonders about things, what he's done wrong. The first night in the new arrangement was harder than I'd braced for. I lay in the twin bed we'd set up a few feet from his hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the specific strangeness of a gap in the dark where 41 years of habit used to sit. Donald settled fairly easily. He'd had a long day, tired in the particular way his days tend to leave him now, worn thin by simply existing inside a mind that doesn't hold on to things the way it used to. I watched him drift off, that familiar face gone soft with sleep, and felt the loneliness of the new distance settle over me like weather. Then, maybe 20 minutes in, I saw his arm move. Slow at first, still mostly asleep, his hand extended out across the gap between our two beds, reaching, searching. Fingers spread the exact way they used to when they'd find my hip in the dark, without either of us waking fully enough to notice it happening. He found nothing but air that first night. His hand hung there a moment, drifting slightly before settling back down onto his own mattress, some small crease of confusion crossing his sleeping face that broke my heart clean in half. I got up, crossed the gap myself, took his hand in mine and held it until his face smoothed back out again. Karen drove out from Wichita the following weekend, took one look at the new sleeping arrangement, and immediately understood without me having to explain the full weight of it. She's watched this disease take pieces of her father for 7 years now, patient in a way I don't think I could manage if our roles were reversed. "You know he's not doing it on purpose, Mom," she told me, helping fold laundry in the kitchen while Donald napped in his recliner. "The reaching. It's not really about missing you consciously. It's just his body, still doing what it's always done." I told her I knew that, logically. I'd read enough about the disease by then to understand the difference between procedural memory and the kind that holds on to names and faces. Knowing it, and feeling the full weight of it at 2 a.m, watching his hand search an empty stretch of mattress, turned out to be two very different kinds of understanding. We'd been married 41 years by then. Married young, right out of high school. Practically. Raised Karen on this same farm. Buried both sets of parents from this same house. The wheat still needed planting every spring, regardless of what was happening inside our bedroom at night. And I found myself grateful, some days, for a farm's demands, for work that didn't leave much room, to sit still with grief for too long at a stretch. The reaching happened most nights after that first one, though never exactly the same way twice. Sometimes just a small shift of his arm toward the gap, sometimes the full deliberate search I'd witnessed that first night. Hand extended, fingers spread, looking for something his conscious mind could no longer name, but his body clearly hadn't finished missing. I started keeping my own bed pulled a little closer over the following weeks. Close enough that some nights his hand actually found the edge of my mattress, instead of empty air, resting there against the frame like it was enough some nights, just to find the boundary of where I still was. Our neighbor Ruth, who'd nursed her own husband through a similar decline a decade back, told me over coffee one morning that she still remembered her husband doing the same thing in his last year, reaching for her in his sleep long after he'd stopped being able to say her name while awake. "The body remembers what the mind forgets," she said, stirring her coffee slowly. I used to think that was sad. Eventually, I came around to thinking it might be the most honest kind of remembering there is. I turned that thought over for weeks afterward, watching Donald's hand search the dark most nights, trying to decide whether Ruth was right. The understanding finally settled into place on an ordinary Thursday night in late summer, 7 years into this disease, 4 months into the new bed arrangement. I'd woken to Donald's hand finding the edge of my mattress again, same as most nights by then, and instead of just holding it the way I usually did, I stayed awake a while longer, watching his sleeping face in the dim nightlight we keep on now for safety, thinking about everything Ruth had said, everything Karen had explained, everything the doctors had tried to prepare me for over 7 long years. Donald couldn't tell you my name anymore. Some days he looks at me with real confusion, trying to place who I am to him, some kind stranger who feeds him and helps him dress and sits with him through long, quiet afternoons. That loss is real, and I don't think I'll ever stop grieving it exactly. But his hand still knew, every single night, without any conscious thought involved at all, exactly where to reach for me. 41 years of falling asleep beside the same woman had written something into him that Alzheimer's hadn't managed to erase. Something that lived below language entirely, in muscle and habit, and 4 decades of trust so deep, it didn't need a name attached to keep functioning. I understood finally, lying there in the dark, that I hadn't lost the whole of him to this disease. I'd lost the part that could say my name, the part that still reached for me every night, faithfully, without fail, was very much still there. I used to measure how much of Donald I still had left by what he could still say to me. His memory of my name, our wedding day, our daughter's childhood. By that measure, I'd been losing him steadily for years. And some days that math nearly broke me clean through. I've stopped measuring it that way. What I know now is that love doesn't only live in the parts of us that can speak. Sometimes it lives lower down, in the body, in habit. In 41 years of reaching for the same person in the dark, until the reaching becomes something closer to instinct than choice. If you're loving somebody whose memory is leaving them piece by piece, I hope you know that not every part of them is going the same way, at the same speed. Some parts of a person live deeper than memory ever did. If you're patient enough to notice, you might find your person is still reaching for you too, in whatever way their body still knows how. I've pulled my bed close enough now, every single night, that Donald's hand almost always finds the edge of my mattress within the first hour of sleep. It's become its own small ritual. His reach, my hand meeting his. Both of us settling back into whatever peace that particular contact still provides him, still provides me. Karen visits most weekends now instead of monthly. Something that started after I told her about the reaching, like the story gave her a reason to want to witness it herself. She sat with us one night last month, watching from the doorway as Donald's hand found mine in the dark, and I heard her breath catch the way mine still does most nights, even after months of it happening. The wheat came in fine this year. Ruth still comes for coffee most Wednesdays. Life keeps its shape out here regardless of what this disease keeps taking. And some days I'm grateful for that steadiness, more than I have words to properly explain. Last night was ordinary, the way most nights are now. I got Donald settled in his bed around 9, same routine as always, and lay down in my own bed a few feet away, listening to his breathing even out into sleep. About 20 minutes in, right on schedule, his hand came reaching across the gap between us, searching the way it always does, finding the edge of my mattress, the way it's found it every night, for months now. I reached back this time before he'd even fully found it, met his hand halfway across the gap, held on until his sleeping face went soft and settled the way it always does once the search is over. 41 years ago, I married a man who could tell me my own name better than I could most days. Tonight, lying in the dark, holding a hand that no longer knows what to call me, I understood something I don't think I ever would have learned any other way. That some kinds of love get written so deep into a person, they outlast even the mind's ability to explain why they're still reaching. He found me again tonight. He always does.